Conor Benn drops and absolutely dominates Chris Eubank Jr. It was an incredible performance from Conor Benn. Look, it was just an absolute dominant, outclassed, outboxed, outthought, outmuscled Chris Eubank Jr. in that fight. Chris Eubank Jr. was non-existent in this fight. Like, there couldn't be more dominant performance in any fight that you would see. It was totally the opposite of what we saw in the first fight. This fight was totally opposite. Chris Eubank Jr. did not turn up in this fight. Conor Benn turned up and looked like the much bigger, stronger, faster fighter. He looked like the fighter with the better boxing IQ. He looked like the fighter that knew what he was doing. Chris Eubank Jr. looked like a novice in there. He looked like he had no energy. He looked like he did not know what he was doing. He looked like he's left everything in the gym. He looked like he wasn't inspired. He looked like he came to get the money and go home. It was a totally different performance and totally different effort from Chris Eubank Jr. in the first fight to what we just saw right now. And it is almost unbelievable to see Conor Benn get in there and perform the way he performed. Look, I was wrong and I hold my hands up. I picked Chris Eubank Jr. to stop Conor Benn in the latter round. So I said Eubank Jr. will stop Conor Benn between round 9 and 11. And I was totally wrong because Conor Benn surprised. He surprised me. And I'm sure Conor Benn surprised a lot of people because that performance was worthy of the winner. Like, you could not rob Conor Benn on the cards because, you know, you could give Chris Eubank Jr. maybe 1 or 2 or maybe 3 rounds if you're generous. He lost every single round after that. If you give him 3 rounds, you're generous. And then after that, he just lost every round. He looked like he wasn't there mentally, physically, you know, emotionally. He wasn't there. During my preview, I said that Conor Benn was too emotional and he was swinging for the fences in the first fight. And I said, if he made the same mistake in the first fight, if he did that same mistake in the second fight, that he was going to pay for it. And Conor Benn came into this fight and he made none of those mistakes. And during my final prediction, I said that Conor Benn was better in this fight during the fight week because he did not react a lot to what Chris Eubank Jr. was saying and what he was doing, and he kept his cool. And Conor Benn got into the ring and he really showed that he's learned from his mistakes from the last fight. He did. He was calculated. He was very technical this time around. His footwork was really good. His jab was landing really well. He was closing the distance, something that I mentioned that he wasn't doing a lot more of in the first fight. He was doing much better. He was closing the distance. You know, his work to the body was really good. And the pressure that he puts on Chris Eubank Jr. was relevant because it sets his tone from the first round up until round 12. And Conor Benn drops Chris Eubank Jr. in round 12 as well. So look, it was just a performance that I did not expect Conor Benn to display. Really, I did not expect Conor Benn to get in there and display such a performance. But one thing that I noticed in round 1 was Chris Eubank Jr. at the bell, when the bell went for them to start fighting, Chris Eubank Jr. took a backward step. Conor Benn put Chris Eubank Jr. on the back foot. And in the first minute of round 1, Chris Eubank Jr. was still on the back foot whilst Conor Benn was on the front foot using his feint. And that is when I realized that this fight is going to be a totally different fight. I realized that it's going to be a very long night for Chris Eubank Jr. Because how is he the bigger fighter, the bigger, stronger, you know, experienced fighter being put on the back foot by the smaller fighter, right? That is unheard of. You cannot do that. You cannot stay on the ropes for that long when you're fighting a fighter that you're bigger than, that you're meant to have the experience advantage over. And Chris Eubank Jr. was on the ropes and he didn't know what to do. He didn't know how to get off the ropes. He didn't know how to take center ring. And it just looked like he was in a place that it was only going to go one way. And basically, that is what we saw all night. It went one way. Conor Benn dictated the pace of the fight. Conor Benn dictated when he wants to throw power shots and when he wants to take a break. Conor Benn looked like the assured fighter. It was just it was like it was written for Conor Benn to get in there today and really show that he can win. So right now it is 2-1 to the Eubanks. Of course, it's 2-1. The Benns get their revenge, and I think they're going to go home very happy. And for the Eubanks, they need to go back. They need to lick their wounds. They need to think about why they went wrong. But look, there's a few things that we can talk about here, right? And, making no excuses. But of course, Eubank Jr. making 160, which he's made in the past few years for every fight. And also having a rehydration clause is an issue. And you could see it. It took a lot out of Chris. Because I always say this, it's only so much that you can go to the well and fetch from the well. It's only so much, because when the well is dry and it's muddy and the weather is hot and the water keep drying up, when you get to the well, it will be difficult to fetch water. And I just feel like it's only so much that Chris Eubank Jr. can lose weight, can be, dehydrated, can make the weight and really fight at a higher pace. It's only so much you can do that, because the human body is not meant to go up and down like a yo-yo in weight and be strong. You're going to be feeble. You're going to be not energetic as you did before. And it's very clear in this fight that Chris Eubank Jr. was not the same fighter. His energy wasn't the same. His ability to be aggressive and to take charge of the fight, right? To dominate and put the smaller fighter on the back foot. He couldn't do that because his energy is not the same as the last fight. As I said, it's only so much that you can go to the well. It's only so much. And I think it was probably one fight too many. And he saw it. In there, he looked like he knew that he hasn't got the energy. And maybe he knew that maybe a week ago that he's not going to be able to fight at the level that he did fight before. Because Conor Benn, he moved up in weight. But he's not losing any water in his system. So he's got the energy to be able to throw these shots and wing shots and, bounce up and down and put Chris Eubank Jr. on the back foot and his feints. Chris was biting on every single feint that Conor Benn was throwing. So look, it was a dominant performance. He was outclassed. He was outboxed. He was outthought. He was outpunched. He was literally just dominated by the smaller fighter in Conor Benn. And you got to look at that and give Conor Benn his credit. You got to give Conor Benn, his props and go, look, he went in there against all odds. I think a lot of people picked Chris Eubank Jr. to win this fight. And Conor Benn went in there against all odds and he wins that fight. He wins it emphatically. There couldn't be any argument that Chris Eubank Jr. won this fight. You couldn't make an argument for him. He lost fair and square. And Conor Benn now goes on and celebrate and enjoy his victory. You guys get in the comment section and let me know what you thought about this fight. What was your prediction before this fight? And how do you feel about this fight? What do you thought about Conor Benn's performance? What do you thought about Chris Eubank Jr.'s performance? How did you see it all? I'm interested to know what you guys think, because it was a very compelling fight compared to what we saw 6 months ago. Get in the comment section and let me know. My name is Bright. This is the Bright Show Podcast Boxing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.